This is The Baseline, discussing the hot button topics of the NBA. Welcome, everybody. You're tuned to The Baseline. Callie Warren Shaw and our special guest, Home Sweet Home, Prodigal Son has returned. Our brother from another mother, man, and a special episode of The Baseline. We're welcoming back our man, Jabari Davis, the myth, the man, the legend, helping us out with our coveted annual award predictions for the 2025-26 NBA season. Man, I always do, my razzle dazzle when it comes to the intros, but you know what I'm saying? When the man comes home, man, you need no introduction. What's good, Jay? How you doing, my brother?
I'm fantastic. Anytime I can talk hoops with you brothers, it's always fantastic. So as always, I appreciate the invitation.
As always, as well too. We appreciate you coming home. Coming. We're opening up the doors, man. You know what I'm saying? The heavens have popped open, and we will now be enlightened with the goodness.
Wait. Did you just do your version of what's the name? Palinka's Manna from Heaven? So I'm the KCP. Okay, hey, you know what? Hey, KCP won with y'all. We won with the boys.
Exactly. And as always, man, my brother, Mr. Warren Shaw, the Warren Shaw. I don't know. When was the last Jay? This last time I think he wasn't the Warren Shaw when you last hopped on. Now that he's official.
I mean, you level up. You level up. You let them know.
Hey, I mean. With that kind of level up, people are gonna have to start paying tithes.
Well, yeah, if you can donate to the 19 Media Group, we would be very, 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 very grateful. But amazing conversation ahead here, fellas. I'm so excited to be joined in here. And again, the great Jabari Davis joining us here. And this is going to be the first time we're actually predicting our own baseline awards, right? Like we've done the baseline awards before, but never predicted what our baseline awards would be. So to get Jabari on here, who was the last person to be on when we actually gave out our baseline awards, makes perfect sense as we head into the 25-26 NBA season.
Absolutely. So we've got a lot to get into, man. We got, obviously the regular NBA award predictions that we like to do, but now we believe we're so official that we are now making sure that we are giving predictions to the Baseline Award. So fun episode on tap. And as always, we appreciate everybody for hopping on board with us this week. Be sure to get my man at D. Warren Shaw, my man Jabari Davis NBA, I believe.
I think it's just Jabari Davis now.
Okay. So you just because you're so well rounded, you're all into the sports vernacular now. It's like I just cannot only be of one entity. I love it.
Truth be told, that was simply because that was back when I was trying to write, thinking I was a writer, and an editor that I had said, "Hey, you should add NBA to your Twitter handle."
That was a thing. That's what people did. Yeah, that's what
people did. The rest is history.
And now you're a producer. Now you are in essence part of the equation. You know what I'm saying?
I'm a cog in the wheel.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. And as always, you can get at me at GameFace the show's Twitter handle at NBA Baseline. Also, be sure to go to www.thebaselinenba.com to not only check this episode out, but also the archive of episodes for those of you who are wanting to figure out where we were with our tiers of the Eastern and Western conferences. Be sure to check out that episode. And if you're catching us on YouTube, like you should be doing right now, we'd like to say hello to you and yours. Keep in mind that when you see the blue and white logo down on the left-hand side of the screen, that is us with the 19 Media Group. 19 Media Group, we run in these content streets. So be sure to go to www.19mediagroup.com to not only check us out, but also the great family of content creators. 19 Media Group, we run in these content streets. Before we get into our coveted award predictions, we obviously got to pay bills, but we also believe that it's a treat for you and yours. Why? Because it's Raycon's anniversary. What better way to celebrate than with the deal on the Everyday Earbuds Classic? They are now 20% off. So it's the perfect time to get your hands on these reliable, super comfy, and easy to take anywhere. And you will see why, as they have been always a fan favorite since day one. The Everyday Earbuds Classics are loaded with upgrades, active noise cancellation, multi-point connectivity, so you can pair with two devices at once, and an ergonomic fit that actually stays put no matter what you're doing. Plus, over 3 million customers already love Raycons, and they come with a 30-day happiness guarantee. So if you don't love them, returns are as easy, so you have nothing to lose. The Baseline boys love their Raycons, and we believe you will too. So make sure to go to buyraycon.com/baseline to get 20% off the Everyday Earbuds Classic. That's buyraycon.com/baseline to get 20% off. We're telling you right now, man, go classic. You got to get yourself the Raycons. Coming up, Jabari, Shaw, Cal, we get into our award predictions. Don't go anywhere. We are back. Cal Lee, Warren Shaw, and our special guest, Jabari Davis, joining us here on the baseline. Time for us to get into our awards predictions. And we're going to start off with the Rookie of the Year award. So amongst the consensus, right, Jabari, myself, my man Shaw, the collective decided to go with Cooper Flagg as being the Rookie of the Year. And I'm going to start with you, Shaw. I know that you were not, you're hedging your bets on it, but I do believe that in your way, it's realistic that everyone sees Cooper Flagg basically hoisting that award, but I believe you had a quote unquote inside ace up your sleeve and believing someone else might take that.
Yeah, I'm going to be a little bit disingenuous here, to be honest with you. I wasn't trying to swim upstream, so to speak. But I thought there was a really good opportunity for Ace. Now I find out my brother's got like tendonitis in both knees or something like that going into the season, and it's not looking super amazing. And then, I've watched a little bit more of Cooper's game, and it seems a little bit like Thanos here. This is pretty undeniable. So I've come around to the consensus here that this is Cooper Flagg's award to lose, really and truly. However, if there was truly an ace in the hole, it could be Ace Bailey. Knees holding up dependent, so to speak. But yeah, Cooper Flagg is the man in these streets, so I'm good with going with what the majority had here. In this one.
The way you made it sound like I should be holding up a prosthetic leg.
I mean, he's what, 21, 22, whatever. Like, he's got
tendonitis.
What's tough. Talking
about? Yeah, I mean, to that point, I understood, because even when we did the other preview that that will come out eventually, sometime soon. When you mentioned Ace Bailey, I understood because oftentimes Rookie of the Year, it doesn't matter whether their team is in the spotlight. It doesn't matter whether they won, they win a ton of games. If that guy is seen as a transcendent talent and he's able to put up a lot of numbers, they're going to be in the consideration. But the reality is this: Cooper Flagg is not only the best player of these guys, at least right now, in my humble opinion. He's also going to be playing meaningful basketball with all of those same opportunities. Given the fact that Kyrie's out, to start the year, given the fact that Jason Kidd has already, put the ball in his hand and said, let's see what the young guys got. There's already a connection there with AD. I'll be honest with you. I think you framed it properly. This is his award to lose.
Yeah, and I think the one thing too that I think stands out to me is what his defensive metrics are going to look like. I do believe that there is a space that Cooper Flagg is going to remind us a lot like, those flex 4 guys that exhibit a lot more strength and a lot more grit. And I think we can get away from the perception that has to be Anthony Davis, because Anthony Davis is already a Defensive Player of the Year, recipient and things of that nature. I believe that Cooper Flagg brings a level of grit and a little bit of an old school mentality. And I think he's going to get his opportunity to display that. And that's just on the surface. And I think that will lend itself well. I think he's the type of person that wants to take on, the bigger players. Like he probably would want to take on Jokic. And I like that. And I like that moxie. I think that will suit him well. So even when he has bad nights, he still has an opportunity for him to statistically put up numbers and do things that'll continue to put him in the conversation of being deserved as the Rookie of the Year. So to everybody's point, I think, this is really his award to lose. Okay, let's go ahead and transition now to the MIP, Most Improved Player Award. We have, again, a very the consensus is there. I believe we all believe in some way, shape, or form, this is an opportunity for Amen Thompson. This is his coming out party. The spotlight will definitely be on the Houston Rockets this year with the expectations of what they can do, minus some of the off-court stuff that has happened, losing Fred VanVleet. But this, I think, even raises more eyebrows to the opportunities for Amen Thompson to basically get this award. I'm going to start with you, Jabari, because I believe you believe that this is Amen Thompson's award to probably lose as well, too. But I definitely think, given the status and the situation, the dependency that, that's going to be that's placed on the shoulders of Amen Thompson to really kind of take that next level, take that next step. I think this is as good an opportunity as you're going to see to help him solidify that award.
I couldn't agree more. The reality is, it's kind of like how I just described the Rookie of the Year situation. This is an opportunity award. This is this is a situation where, even when Fred VanVleet, and shout out to him and hope, wishing him a speedy recovery. But even when he was in the lineup, I thought, hey, they may still have some playmaking concerns. They may, they really are going to need Amen Thompson to step up. They're really going to need, other guys to do, to do more on the, from that perspective. That they weren't receiving, especially down the stretch last year and in the postseason. So now that Fred VanVleet, VanVleet's out, it's like, okay, no, I'm in. What do you have? I personally, I was, incredibly impressed by his game, last year and what he showed. I know that you can't, and Warren, I know that you may have something to say about this. I know you can't base it off summer tape, but the summer tape looks good. Like everything that we've seen from him, everything that we've heard about him in camp, and obviously what we've been able to see, it looks great. So I do think the sky's the limit. I do think he has a great opportunity to get this. It would actually surprise me if he's not in that conversation at the end of this.
Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to Amen, it's one of those, we rarely have consensus and such a divisive kind of NBA ethos and landscape. But there's not anybody who does not like Amen Thompson. Or the Thompson twins in general. I think they're all,
except for Jose Alvarado. I think he may have a little bit.
Everybody has one. But I think when it comes to covering the league and understanding what opportunities are there, and I think even you couple that with Fred VanVleet's injury, Reed Shepherd may or may not be truly ready to kind of step into some playmaking and additional minutes there. Amen seems like the guy. I just hope he doesn't wear down, obviously. But this is really truly his year. While I'd love to pick, somebody else in splash year, and I have my eye on, Matas Bucelis in Chicago. He truly is a second-year guy. So then I kind of goes against my own rule, like second-year guy. Well, of course he's supposed to improve, right? But how much will he improve from year one to year two? But this is what Amen's third year. So this is around that time where you're starting to really see that, and you couple that with the opportunity that's there. It seems to make a lot of sense for Amen to be the most improved player this year.
The only thing that I was going to say to your point, Shaw, is that the timing is just, I think, is going to be is bad, because I think a lot of people are going to be impressed by what you'll probably see from Bucelis. The issue is that the need for what Thompson can potentially be for Udoka and what the Houston Rockets are going to need, especially given what happened to them last year, getting bounced by the Golden State Warriors. This to me is an opportunity for Thompson to really cement himself to being what everyone believes that the Thompson twins were, when they were coming out of the draft. Like the focus, the spotlight has allowed that now to illuminate even more. But I do think that people should keep eyes on Bucelis and what he can potentially do with the Chicago Bulls, because listen, the Chicago Bulls executive management did it without knowing that they were doing it. Maybe this might actually be their opportunity for them to see this could be the future, right? This could be a building block that they want to build with. He's already spoken, from media day since preseason. He wants to be that guy. We haven't heard that from most of these other guys that have been kind of coming through the doors. And if he does take that step, it could help him, but it's not going to help him become MIP, given what we're talking about with Amen Thompson.
Yeah.
All right. So let's transition now to the DPOY, you know what I'm saying? The Defensive Player of the Year award. I believe we think that it's time. It's time that we give it to the Vic. You know what I'm saying? Victor Wembanyama, it's his opportunity. This is the one where I believe we say, all right, it's really his to lose, because the numbers that he's been putting up over the first 2 years, it's kind of hard not to imagine him not being that guy. But it's really hard not to imagine at this point, because we know that he's going to put even better numbers up, that this is his award. So I'm gonna let you chime in on this one, Shaw. Like, it's hard to imagine, given the freakish, numbers that he's been putting up already in the first two years, and doing that while having the health issues that he exhibited, meaning that he probably could have done it last year and he'll do it again, this year even more. But maybe that might be a good sign for the San Antonio Spurs. It's like we're letting him percolate.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be one of those situations where we may get tired of him, 2-3 years down the line. Like when you talk about awards to lose, it really is and should be his. I think Amen's going to be very close, when that, plus the opportunity. But with the leap we expect San Antonio to take, just truly the freakish numbers that Wemby is going to put up just by virtue of just being truly just as long as he is. Just he doesn't really need to do a whole lot. And he's a smart player on top of it. And he contests and he challenges and he has the motor. Again, as long as he can hit the games played limit, because this is what precluded him from winning the award. I think last year he was kind of the odds-on favorite. He should be winning this award for years to come, or at least be in the top 2 or 3 at the very, very least, for every season for the next however many years he wants to be in this space. Jabari, I'll kick it to you. Any closing? Because this is the one we all agreed, like, listen, open and shut, Wemby, get out of here.
I'm going to attempt to be hyperbolic, but I actually mean this. Victor Wembanyama might one day go down as the most destructive defensive force in the NBA. And so when I say this, I am not discrediting Wilt. I'm not discrediting Nate Thurman. I'm not discrediting any of the incredible defenders that we've ever seen. They were all great, and they still hold the place, that they've always held. What I'm saying is exactly this, to the point that you just made. We've never seen one this freakishly, long and tall and athletic. We've never seen one with that size and that motor and that skill set and those freakish, agility advantages that he has. We haven't seen this exact package. Plus the fact that he also seems to be that much of a competitor. Yeah. All I'm saying is it's way too early to make those proclamations, but I can see this. That's his trajectory if his body permits.
I think the other thing as well too, and maybe me, sometimes I speak outlandishly, but the other thing as well too is he is now setting another category of how we look at the way the big men should be playing, right? And I think until we get another Victor Wembanyama like that he has to contend with, he is a problem for the Jokic's who like to stretch the floor, like to go behind the 3, right? Guys just can't afford to act, just only kind of camp out. Like they're going to have to actually come back down. And if Wembanyama is the kind of person that you've seen, he has balance, he has agility, he has length, and he utilizes these things well. He's not somebody that becomes a detriment as a big because he doesn't really get in foul trouble. So that means a lot of the altering shot changes that are happening are not at the expense of him sitting on the court because he's suffering from 4 or 5 fouls. His coaches don't have to make critical decisions about bringing him out because he makes free throws. So as long as he continues that path, he again is altering the way that they're going to have to figure out how to get around him, get past him, whether it's finding somebody else quicker, designing some kind of offensive system that gives better shots. But to your point, he's literally trending in that kind of direction that's going to force us to say we're going to need to clone him in order for teams to actually say that they have a chance if he's covering the floor the way that he's covering. Like there was a time where it would have been cool seeing Steph Curry probably going one-on-one against Vic Wembanyama, and then you saying, oh, young Steph probably can get that shot off. That kind of Wembanyama, I think, blocks Steph's shot almost every single time. Like Steph is going to have to get into the Harry Potter wizardry school of figuring out how to get around a guy that can move and be able to stay with even guards the way that Wembanyama is.
Yeah, the illest floaters in the world are going to be hard to get around. And I think your point about him not being in foul trouble is because he knows how to utilize the size that he has. He can just contest by literally putting his arms up, right? I'd be interested to know like what his standing reach is in air. Right. If he jumps arms completely extended, is he like 15 feet up into the air, 17 feet with I don't know. And that's frightening to think about.
You've seen some of those pictures where he's contesting the 3-pointers where it looks like he's 20 feet in the air. Yeah. Where it's like, yeah, good luck with that.
You're tuned to the Baseline. Callie, Warren Shaw, our special guest, Jabari Davis, as we are covering our NBA awards. Next up, man, let's do the 6th man of the year. It's almost a consensus. But I do think that it's hard pressed for us not to believe that Josh Hart should essentially become the sixth man of the year. I'm going to start with you, Jabari, on this one. Listen, man, he's been doing this now for a few years. It's kind of hard to imagine him not hoisting this particular trophy with these numbers. It's remarkable because realistically, the numbers that he puts up, you would think that he's a starter for most other NBA teams. But for the New York Knicks, he's exactly where he needs to be, and his productivity, to me, helps redefine and reshape the importance of what the sixth man should be moving forward.
Josh, I mean, you put it perfectly. Josh Hart does everything that you want a winning basketball player to do. If you have aspirations to play winning basketball as a team and have success, not just over the course of a regular season, not just over the course of a stretch, but long-term success, deep runs, you need players like Josh Hart. The trouble is there's not a lot of guys that have his specific skill set and his motor and his and can do all of the different things that he can do. I'll go here. He's one of the only of those baby Lakers that everybody used to like to make fun, like, oh, they sold the farm, and it is what it is. He's the guy that I actually miss the most because you can put him. He's the guy that if you have a bad team, he's going to come out and he's going to fight. He's going to do what he does, and he's going to contribute. If you have a good team, he's going to come out and he's going to contribute to that. That play or that level of play. If you have a great team, he can also hit those levels. He's going to do all of the little things, all of the dirty work, and play above his size. Defend above his size, be able to defend multiple positions. And he's a guy that It was made a joke before, but he's going to be there if you want to play him 48 minutes a game, 82 games a year. If he's physically capable, he's going to give it to you. So I don't disagree with this pick. It makes the most sense. What do you think?
And from my lens, while we're pseudo picking against the grain, because this is usually an award that goes to somebody who scores the most, and I think the odds-on favorite is Naz Reid, who won the award, I guess, a couple of years ago. It could presumably be back in that. DeAndre Hunter is also in that space, but he's going to get some starting opportunities because Cleveland is going into the season already banged up with Darius Garland and Max Strus. So Hunter's probably going to start for Cleveland for a good majority. Peyton Pritchard won the award last year, hit the most amount of threes. So again, all scores, like guys who score. The last kind of grit and grind guy, so to speak, in this same realm was, I think, Montrezl Harrell, who won it X amount of years ago as a sixth man. So Josh Hart kind of embodies those things. He'll do everything. And right now, if we believe what we've seen in preseason, he won't be a starter anymore. They're only going to start Mitchell Robinson and Cat, and then, obviously OG Anunoby, Bridges, and then Jalen Brunson. And that allows Hart to be a great guy coming off the bench to do all the things we just talked about. Do a little bit of passing, a little bit of rebounding, a little bit of defense, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'd love to see somebody who doesn't just score the most points win. And that's why we went with Josh Hart for this one here for sixth man.
Everything you guys said, I think, is just basically spot on. And I think the other thing as well, too, is that what Josh Hart brings to the table at times with his rebounding, with his defensive metrics, the versatility that he brings, this could very well be the year that it can help kind of offset the what we focus in and hone in on is the ability to score points coming off of the bench. Because I agree with you, Shaw. I think you could easily give the award to a guy like Naz Reid. But I think the telltale that always tends to happen is with Naz Reid is that he's a great scorer, but he can become a liability defensively at times, especially when it comes to the big man matchups and things. Now he's improved in those numbers and those metrics, but again, there's an inside track that the New York Knicks essentially are going to be either number 1 or number 2 in the Eastern Conference, and if that's the case, Josh Hart very well could be an important reason on why that tends to happen, especially with the number of minutes that he logs in on a night in, night out basis. I think he's going to have so many more opportunities for him. And I'm going crazy by saying this, but he could very well be one of those guys that could, average a double-double at his size. You know what I'm saying? With the amount of opportunity and chances that are going to be afforded him with the New York Knicks. And if they score the basketball with the way that they could potentially score this version of Mike Brown, right? Offensive-minded Mike Brown, the New York Knicks, going north of 115 points per game. I mean, who's to say that Josh Hart isn't going to be averaging somewhere close to 13, 15 points you know what I'm saying, off the bench. That's not what he normally does, but he could very well easily walk himself into doing that if the Knicks are going to be a more offensively potent basketball team.
Let me just say this in closing. Whether he averages double-double or double figures in points or not, I think it's just, we're going to see the intangibles and things done. And I'd love, it's not sexy, but I'd love to see him like 8, 7, and 5, but understanding what that impact is. You know what I mean? Those are very solid numbers across the board. But, we don't appreciate that in the same way. So I think as we all want to say we're better and better consumers of the game and the sport, somebody like that doing something like that would kind of prove that, you know what I mean? As opposed to like, oh, this guy scores 16 a game. Like, I don't know. It's kind of old hat for me, but say la vie.
Josh Hart, aka Black Adam. The anti-hero of of what we believe the six-man award should be.
Anti-hero in Gotham. All right, brother.
You're tuned to the Baseline. Callie Warren Sharp, special guest Jabari Davis. Now we talk about the MVP, most valuable player. We all have a different selection here. I'm going to start with you, Jabari. Not that you're trying, to be biased. I genuinely believe that you sat down and you really you etched out the numbers, you did the algorithm, and you knew that it had to come down to Luka, while my man Shaw, believes that this is the year of the Wemby, not the Webby, but the Wemby, to get multiple awards this year. And me, I just believe that a man just has to have a conversation with Michael Jordan, and he's just going to basically get himself the trophy. So Luka, Ant, and Wemby is what we have selected as our MVP. I'm going to start with you, Jay. Why Luka?
I've already got a complaint because the Luka that I am putting this vote in for is not the Luka that was on that graphic. The Luka that was on that graphic was last year's Luka. I wouldn't have voted for last year's. Last year's Luka. Hey man, I appreciate you.
Let's go down him again.
I appreciate you. Last year,
Luka. I'm not seeing the difference.
Okay, you know what the difference is? It's like the difference between my current picture and my high school graduation picture. It ain't the same man, but it's not the same man. That's all I'm saying.
Homie on the road program. He's on Serena's road program, and
on that
it had you smiling.
Hey man, that ain't my Luka. That all right. But no, jokes aside, I mean that because that is going to be, for me, that's the difference. I was, as a Lakers fan, full disclosure, in case anybody wasn't aware of this, I was always going to be like, hey, you know what? That's my guy. I'm going to support my guy. But in the back of my mind, it was always going to be, hope his body can can manage. Not to continue to reference Shaq, it's the same way I felt like in 03 and 04 with Shaq, where it was like once his body continued, 04, once his body started to, balloon up a little bit, it was like, ooh, hope that can last. Hope you can get, this is going to sound callous, but you hope you can get as much greatness as possible out of that player while their body permits. Now that he is, he's got his body right. He's got the extra motivation of, okay, the trade is done. I am a Laker now. He's extended, so he's at least willing to be there for a few years and see what they can figure out around him. Right. I look at this as a situation where it's a confluence of things. He got into shape. LeBron is out at the start of the year, which could continue to be a situation over the course of the season. That is what that is. It's his team. It is absolutely his team. I made this reference on another show, but it's kind of like from the beginning. It's like that scene in Seven, where Detective Mills was already in Somerset's office, and they were scraping Somerset's name off the door. This is Detective Mills' job. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully it doesn't go. Hopefully it doesn't end the way that it ended. For that partnership. But no, I'm rambling. But let me pull it together. I think in the NBA, especially with the MVP award, but with all awards, a lot of times it's a narrative situation. We've been talking about Luka, and by we, I mean the general NBA conversation. We've been talking about, is this the year for Luka's MVP? Is this the year for Luka's MVP for the last 2 to 3 seasons at the very least? On the big stage with a team that is more geared towards his skill set. I don't think they're done, but more geared towards his skill set at this point. And with all of the other variables that I mentioned, I think this could be the year. If there's going to be a year, I think this is the year where Luka finally gets over the top.
And I'll tap in, from the Luka standpoint that, every year, seemingly, we're at least trying to put him in the top 2. Like he's got to be in there. And whether or not he can stay healthy enough to be there, I think that's often been the question. But the year he averaged whatever it was, like 34 or whatever, it's like he was just blazing the league when it came to the points and obviously the play creation. And now being on not even arguably the most popular team in sports to me, but definitely in the NBA, like there's so many things built in for this to happen. LeBron, sciatica going into the season, just all the things seem to make sense, I think, for Luka in there. I went with Wemby because I'm trying to accelerate the timeline. And again, I might be like Forge and X-Men or the case to be. I'm jumping ahead, and I really need to kind of like, listen, you know what? We're probably a year, maybe even 2 away where he can do all of this, be a Defensive Player of the Year candidate and an MVP. But I think the Spurs are poised for something really big. And big by meaning like middle of the pack in the Western Conference. And if they can get to be a 4 or even 5 seed in the West under his leadership and his very real gaudy statistics, I think there's things that can be here. See, I'm going to kick it to you because I know we need to talk about, your player as well too. However, it does say something that the 3 of us are almost kind of disregarding the SGA who won the award last year. And I don't know like if people love him like that and necessarily feel like that, but also knowing that it took truly a historical season from him to beat out Jokic, who really is the best player in basketball. No, forget what we're saying about any of these guys right now. And I don't know if the Jokic narrative comes back into play as well too. But your thoughts on Ant CL?
I want to go back. Let me just quickly piggyback on your point regarding SGA and Jokic. Right, we are not dismissing the fact that they are going to be in the mix, but I do think that both teams, right, and the way that their rosters are structured are specifically catered and designed to help take the load off. That their numbers are going to be impressive, but they may not be impressive enough because we believe that the guys that we're selecting are going to take another level, and that level will keep them in the conversation. And eventually it'll come down to, obviously what the teams are completely doing and where those guys are, during critical matchups and things of that nature. To my point, Anthony Edwards has just consistently proven for the last couple of years that he wants to be the guy. He may not know how to go about doing it. The kid's still all but what 24 years old. Okay. But you sit down and you have a conversation with one of the greats in the game, with one of the killers of the game of basketball on what you need to take yourself to that next level. And you go out there and you execute and implement it. He doesn't have anybody holding him back from being able to do that. And I'm not saying that the Minnesota Timberwolves are just going to instantly go to the NBA Finals, but I will say that if there is a version of us believing that the Minnesota Timberwolves can take that next step, it would have to be because Anthony Edwards is now electing to say, I'm just going to go full Super Saiyan on everybody and every person that I deal with, every matchup that I go against. You know what I'm saying? And the opportunity is there to do that. And I don't know whether or not the window is going to still be there, but you can't be hanging around the Western Conference Finals conversation, especially with the kind of years that they've had, and not actually say Anthony Edwards should not be one of the direct reasons that they're there because of it. I think it's now you take that next step. Much to Jabari's point, he's saying that this is Luka's team, right? We've said that this is Anthony Edwards' team, so much so that Karl Anthony Towns has got to go be the man somewhere else, for another team. You get what I mean? This is Anthony Edwards' team. Now the next step is this should be Anthony Edwards' league. And to do that, he's going to have to show up and show out against the bigger names on a nightly basis. The Minnesota Timberwolves don't have to be the best team in the Western Conference or the best team in the WNBA, but those days where Anthony Edwards needs to be great, he needs to be great, and I think he's going to do that this year.
I'll just say this. I was listening to another show, and it was interesting because I was like, they made some, I think, valid points when it comes to the MVP case. And it was like, for him to pass some of the guys that we've already mentioned, like he may need to average like literally over 30, right? I think that the points per game is going to have to be in that same thing, in addition to the ability to play create, because we all know Mike Conley is very long in the tooth here. And so like, can he give you a combination of 32, 33, and 6-7 dimes, 4 or 5 rebounds, you know what I mean? A steal and a half while playing lockdown defense. Physically, he's capable. Can the Wolves sustain him doing that throughout the course of the season? Even with Naz Reid and Julius Randle, on the roster who can, spell the offense here and there. I think that's it makes it a harder case, but not an impossible case for Anthony Edwards.
Can I give you a quick counter before you jump in, Jabari? I completely agree with you, Shaw. But you know where I believe Anthony Edwards may possibly take that? That's where I'm banking on this. If I'm pushing my chips all in on this, it's to me how SGA really elevated himself to become the MVP. He did it with brutal efficiency. I think if we see a better, more efficient version of Anthony Edwards getting to those 30 points, meaning getting onto the free throw line a lot more, imposing his will to force more fouls so that he doesn't, like, the one thing that I appreciate, because everyone's talking about, oh, now that Anthony Edwards has got the three. I'm like, no, I don't want him to have the three. I want him to punish the smaller guards that he deals with on a night in, night out basis and get to the free throw line. If he backs off of that just a little bit and puts more emphasis on punishing those, I think he gets to the 30 without having to take 25 shots. To me, if you do it with efficiency, you get your numbers, but at the same time, you still have an impact. And I'm thinking that's what I'm going to see from Anthony Edwards this year, is for him to be a little bit more efficient and not rely on the three like he was doing all last year.
Yeah, and I really don't have that much to add to it. You guys put it perfectly. Like, the guy has already shown that he's got the game. But what's most impressive to me about Anthony Edwards is it seems like every offseason he's adding a little bit. He's adding, like, whether it's extending his shot, whether it's becoming a lockdown defender, whether it's bulking up even further in order to be able to deal with the wear and tear. Look, I may like, if I gun to the head, if I had to, like, if I were betting, I may not bet on him. But if, like, say for instance, I were not as believing as I am in Luka, that would probably be my second choice. So,
right.
So, I mean, while there are no guarantees, there are, obviously, we have a long season that, ahead of us. Kind of to Warren's point about, about Wemby, the reality is this: if Anthony Edwards in a ever, deep Western Conference can get them to a top 3-4 seed with some efficiency and still putting up those crazy numbers, that's the path. Like, yes. So the answer is yes, it can be done.
It's ironic, Jabari, and we'll get into our awards in a moment. But it's ironic. I would have still been on the Luka train. I had been a proponent for Luka to have been the MVP had he still been in Dallas, because it was all to himself. You know what I'm saying? It didn't matter who he had. He had Kyrie. He could have had Anthony, and I would have still said Luka is got to be the MVP, because he's been that great of a player. But the moment that he went to the Los Angeles Lakers and he had to play next to LeBron James, I had to wait a season for me to see whether or not that same Luka was going to be out there on the basketball court to supersede a team that has been seen through the eyes of LeBron James. And so if you believe in that, I could easily get on board with saying Luka would be the MVP this year. And I feel like that, to me, is where I'm on my hold pattern. Because of the sciatica, I get that, but I still feel like it's still LeBron's team. So I want to see what version of Luka comes out to kind of dispel that.
What are you?
I won't turn this into a debate about that, but what I get it, because we've never seen a LeBron team that wasn't a LeBron team. But yes, this is it now.
Right. You see what I'm saying? Like, everybody is speaking to the numbers. I'm speaking to the aura. I'm speaking about the feel of, is that my team? And I think if Luka takes that by the gonads, right? Day one, game one of, of the season, I will then be like, all right, he's for real now. Like, this is for real. Like, all of the other semantics going on, this is for real. You're tuned to The Baseline. Callie, Warren, Shaw. Great conversation with our brother. You know what I'm saying? He always loves to bring it with us. Our man Jabari Davis joining us. Coming up, time for them Baseline Awards, man. I know y'all been waiting for that. You know what I'm saying? Patiently waiting. Well, it's time for us to deliver. Keep it here on The Baseline.
You've earned this. Now it's time to embark on your own personal adventure. Book your vacation with exquisite travel and tours today. Explore the world and discover yourself.
And we're back. Callie, Warren, Shaw, and our special guest, Jabari Davis, joining us here, Baseline NBA Podcast. Time for us to do the Baseline Awards. This is the fun one, man. I love the fact that we've been doing this long enough that we basically feel like, all right, let's actually give out awards that we would want to give out. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of stuff that's like really acknowledging cats. You know what I'm saying? For what we believe encompasses and embodies our NBA. So let's start off by giving out the MacGyver Award. That is the player that does the most with the least. My man Jabari, I'll allow you to go ahead and honor who is the recipient of this year's MacGyver Award.
No, I appreciate that, Cal. This is, I really like this award because, it look, we know who the main, main characters are. We know who's on the marquee. We know, who's going to get a lot of the credit. And not in any way that, we don't show love to the secondary guys or the support guys. But I really do appreciate that, that the show has always, thrown them front and center. Look, when I make these, when I say this about this player, I recognize that Derek White has far more athleticism than I or a normal person on the street, has. I understand this. I know he's physically gifted compared to normal people, but by comparison to NBA guys, when I think of players, and it's funny because another guy that I considered for this, we've already just recently discussed, was Josh Hart. But when I think about guys that get the most out of their body, the most out of their their God-given talent, that bring it on a nightly basis, that are true MacGyvers, that doesn't matter what the situation is, what you ask of them, they can give that to you. So if it's defend the best, be the point of attack defender on the best, the best scorer, they can do that. If it's, get down in the block and actually rebound, rebound well for, for a swing man or lead position, they can do that. If it's, hey, you know what, on a random night, we might need 16 to 18 or 20 points out of you or even more, they can give that to you. When I think of that player, it's still Derek White. And as funny as it is, with you guys have seen it up close and personal these last few years. I've been jealous of that, tremendously jealous of that, because he's my favorite type of player, the glue guy, if you will. But it's still, for me, when I think of that one guy, if that could play literally on any team and contribute on any team and do all of those things well for any team, it's Derek White. So he's this year's MacGyver Award for me.
I think it's an excellent pick, and he's going to have obviously a super elevated role with Jason Tatum being out in Boston. And if the preseason is any indication, I don't know what else he might be up for, but I mean he's out there, he hooping, he chucking, and those threes are going up. But he's also getting the opportunity to distribute even more. I think we're going to see, kind of even to what you're saying, how good he really is, even more from what we think the concept of Derek White ultimately is. And really, he does maximize the most out of his God-given ability and works very hard in essence to extrapolate some of that too. And I think Missoula, and the way that they coach him in Boston, is giving him even more confidence in essence to do some of those things that he might be a little bit lower key. Because you would have looked at him and think, okay, he's going to go, but he pulls up sometimes like, damn, bro, you shot that? Like, like he's got a lot of confidence, and it's really exciting to see that maturation process happen for Derek White.
Yeah, and look, the floor is now opened up a little bit more for him. I know that he'll be playing next to Peyton Pritchard, but I mean, if you really think about it, he doesn't have Drew Holiday next to him. So he will have the ball in his hands a lot more. I think that this is an opportunity for him. Listen, I know that we're not going to be talking about him being most improved player, but he may put up the kind of numbers that has conversations of what a most improved player would probably look like. Yeah, because we're so used to, because we, and especially since we don't know, when Tatum is, we won't know what, how Jaylen Brown is going to be. Like, he's going to put up some pretty impressive numbers. I wouldn't be surprised if he's going to be top 10. I'm sorry, not top 10, probably top 5 as far as 3-point shooting, 3-point shots made, and possibly percentage, right? Like, I just think that this is going to be an opportunity for him, and if the Celtics are going to double down on their ability to shoot the three, what better tandem to probably have in getting that with White and with Peyton as your backcourt, with Pritchard as your backcourt. So yeah, I think this was an excellent pick, Jabari. And I'm not saying that as being Celtic bias. This is what it's been like, and I've only seen it get better because of the time that he spent playing next to Drew Holiday to be a much more efficient point guard, and that's what the Celtics are going to need. They're going to need an efficient point guard, but also the ability that he can still make shots as well too. All right, let's move things forward. Shaw, I am going to hand it over to you, as you are going to give us the recipient of the Keep Ish Together Glue Guy of the Year award.
Yeah, so my recipient of this is a lot of it. It's going to make sense. There's a little bit of hope involved that my guy can stay healthy, because I have a backup in case he doesn't. But I think one of the more important guys in the NBA right now into this season is actually going to be Jalen Suggs. Keeping ish together, the glue guy of the year, I'm going with Jalen Suggs for the Orlando Magic. We saw what he was able to do last year, especially when Bancaro and Wagner were out, and how important he was. And when they came back and then he went out, Orlando still never really recovered. That's how important he is to the connectivity pieces of that, whether that's from his truly, truly demon-like defense, and he play creates a little bit. I mean, he's not elite, but he's doing enough there, and he's shooting the three with a decent percentage, and Orlando desperately needs that. Yes, they have another guy who is actually going to come up, I think, in a little while as well, too. But I think the glue guy of the year is going to be Jalen Suggs. Now, if it is not Jalen Suggs because of injury, my backup is actually going to be somebody else in the East, and that would be Dyson Daniels. I think he's going to be very important to what Atlanta does as well, too. But for my money, Jalen Suggs makes a lot of sense in Orlando.
I can't argue with that, Shaw, because we've had this conversation about what we think about the Magic. We've had, special guests on to talk about that as well, too. My whole thing with Jalen Suggs is that, if everything falls together, he doesn't get injured and things of that nature, they will be a very good, formidable team. They're going to probably be a contender, in the East, no question. So yeah, I think that this is a great opportunity for Jalen Suggs to continue to elevate himself, and this award, I think, will be significant towards that, because the Magic are going to have to get that out of him to do the kind of stuff that's going to prevent Bancaro and Wagner from getting injured, Bane from getting injured. He's going to be the one to do that dirty work. Hopefully it will not be at the expense that they lose, because again, they'll have Jones and company and stuff like that. But I think, to your point, what he brings to the table, I think, is quintessential for the Magic's success. So I like that pick.
Yeah, I think this is an excellent pick, and it's funny that both of the guys you mentioned, like, let's be real about it. Both Atlanta and Orlando are in a position to be in the top 2, 3, maybe maybe 4, like in the Eastern Conference, but they could very well be the top two teams, or two of the top teams in the conference. And for that to take place, you would imagine that both of those guys are contributing a great deal. When it comes to Jalen Suggs, I'm going to keep it real with you. While yes, I thought he was good, he had some games prior to that injury last year where I was like, oh, he's got that. Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, he's got that type of game. So no, I can't disagree with with this pick at all, with either of those two players mentioned, but in particular with Suggs, to the point that you made. If his body holds up, Orlando, I feel like we've wanted to say this could be the year. This could be their year again. This really could be their year with the additions they've made and the internal improvements that they've had. This really could be it.
I do want to see Mosley do a little more with Suggs. I would like to see him kind of unleash him a little bit more. We'll see. I feel at times that he's probably held him back. I don't know if it's a level of trust. Is something that I questioned, before, with the reason why the Magic made sure that they went and they got Tyus Jones. I just hope it's more so to protect the continuity of the team, to keep what Suggs is bringing to the table, more so than it is not having the confidence to have him be out there on the court and be a significant contributor for the Magic to continue where they're ascending to. So it'll be interesting to see. All right. I guess it's my turn. And so now I will deliver you the recipient of the best fit on a new team. I don't know if whether or not I was selected because it sounded like, I'm giving out the, it's in the best well-dressed, you know what I'm saying? But when we talk about best fit on a new team, it's basically the player who, for the team that they're going to, they are going to fit right in, and you are going to see instant results. You're going to definitely get your returns, what they call in the business world, we say ROI, return of investment is definitely going to come forth with for the team. I have got two selected, but I believe one main and then one as a backup. My main is going to be Desmond Bane of the Orlando Magic. Look, the Orlando Magic said that we need to address shooting. We needed a shooter. And what do? They go and get arguably one of the best and youngest shooters in the game of basketball in Desmond Bane. But I think more importantly, why he will also be the best fit of this team is Desmond Bane is a gamer. He is a competitor. He is somebody that I believe, not just because of his physical stature, but also for the way that he plays the position that he plays, that to me is it represents a lot of the identity of what the Orlando Magic already looks like. A young, very tough-minded, physical type of basketball team, and I think you want that across the board. The last thing you want to do is get a guy who basically shoots and I don't want to say is a prissy or anything like that, but he's too delicate. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to protect the dude instead of having him getting out there in the trenches and playing the game as physical as the rest of your teammates do. And sometimes it's the numbers that's speaking to it, or it's the window of winning, right? Like, you get a guy because he looks great, but as far as the fit goes, it doesn't kind of work well with. Listen, we can talk about Kevin Durant, right? And what happened out there with Phoenix, Bradley Beal, and what happened out there in Phoenix. There's some guys while the numbers look great, the feel and the fit to the team don't. I think Desmond Bane fits that narrative. I think it's great for the Orlando Magic. People are probably going to get antsy and see, will you see the results from it? I think that this is not just a short-term, but also a long-term investment that will yield benefits for the Magic.
Jabari, your thoughts here, more so from, because like, well, I get the pleasure of working with CL week to week, and we challenge each other here and there. I think I was surprised he didn't pick the aforementioned Kevin Durant here. Maybe it was too easy. But your thoughts on Bane's fit in Orlando as potentially the best fit, new threads, for this NBA season?
I'm actually really. What's funny is, look, the KD thing, we all have respect for him. He's an all-time great. He's one of the greatest scorers this game has ever seen, and still clearly one of the best scorers in the game right now. So I think that would have been the layup, you know what I mean? Because it's the bigger name, or the more noteworthy name, more historical name. But the best fit is actually Desmond Bane, and here's why. I'm going to reference Euphoria, the Kendrick diss track, Euphoria. Remember when he says, the first time I shot me a Dre, like I didn't aim down enough. The homie told me to aim it this way. So what they did was, a couple of years ago, they went out and they said, we're going to get KCP because we saw what he did a couple of years ago, and we've seen what he does when he plays with elite playmaking, which we do not have, but we're going to expect him to do those things here. And KCP, all respect to him, but he's not that guy. He's a guy that if you set him up, he can absolutely be an accent. He's the jalapenos on top of pizza, not the pepperoni. All right. So you go out and you say, I know Desmond Bane. Desmond Bane to go out and get some buckets. Desmond Bane is not going to wait for you to give it to him. He does not need for you to give it to him. While yes, he can be a contributor, and yes, he can be a good part of a system. He's not a guy that's dependent on anybody else to keep him going or to get him going. So, in terms of what Orlando has needed more than anything, it isn't because look, Banchero is what he is. He's fantastic. He's going to continue to improve. That seems evident. Franz Wagner is what he like. They have good pieces. They needed that guy that you can throw the ball to and say, "Go get it." Go get it in a series. Go get it in a particular matchup. Go get it in a particular game, or even a particular quarter, and they have that now. So I think this is the right pick.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna let CL off the hook here, because I actually I like this pick a lot too, and I appreciate him not going with the layup of KD. At the end of the day, it's like we know what it is with Kevin Durant, and he should be a seamless fit kind of everywhere. And I think the impact that we're looking for Bane to make, Bane will actually be able to make. And that reference to KCP, I think, is an excellent take. Like, you know what? We basically got KCP on crack, steroids, or whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? That can really juice what we need to do here in Orlando. So I think that's a great pick. CL, what's our next award?
All right. So I think now it's on to Jabari, who will do the I got next player who we think is going to take a massive leap next year. The I got next award. Jabari?
I really like this award too. Honestly, guys, it's so good to be back on the show with you guys, man. I'm saying it. I'm not trying to, I'm not just trying to kiss behinds because I'm on with you guys. I mean it. So I like this award as well because I'm always looking for who's next? Who's gonna be that next guy to pop off and show somebody? and I think it's Kelly Ware. And the reality is this. With any of these awards, obviously it's opportunity, but with some of them in particular, it's an opportunity. It's and some of it is due to oftentimes is due to unfortunate circumstances, but really in professional sports, it's next man up. It's the next guy, or who's on the horizon, or who could take us to who is the next guy to be able to take us to the promised land. And if I'm looking at that situation in Miami, and you've got Tyler Hero, I don't know what his situation is. I know that if I'm not mistaken, he's still out to start the year, and it's relatively indefinite. They've got Bam went down in the preseason with a knee injury. I know that it's not, it didn't believe to be serious, but if there's any question there, you definitely don't want to have him ruin anything. So you're going to be as careful as you can with him. You're looking at Miami in a situation where I understand that, Pat Riley has a great deal of, pride, and he's always shown that, regardless of whether you agree with his his current basketball acumen, that does mean something. So if I'm them, and I look at some of my stars or my star players or my star, the players that I'm paying as stars, they may or may not be available. And even when they're there, we have a clear ceiling there. It's time to press reset. So I think this could be the year where you have the confluence of things. You've got Miami, where if they're smart, they're gonna sell high on a lot of their prospects, and they're gonna see what else is there. Kel'el Ware showed it last year. But I think what I'm most impressed by him is, he entered the summer in Spoelstra's doghouse. He came out and said all the right things, appears to have done all the right things to get himself ready, appears to be ready to address all of those concerns that were rightfully and justifiably, brought up, in terms of his consistency. And it just feels like this is going to be a year where, look, he put up what some people would consider pedestrian numbers, but were solid numbers last year. I could see this being a year where he has career numbers in every single measurable, stat. And it just looks like one of those where it's like, oh, wow. Now we got to talk about Kel'el Ware in a different conversation moving forward. So that's why I gave him that award this year. What do you guys think? Is anybody else more deserving?
Well, no, not in this space. I'm obviously live where I live, have some great access to Miami, and Mr. Ware in itself. And right, the doghouse statement is very true. Preseason, he's looked amazing. He's looked like somebody who's like, listen, I'll do whatever the team needs me to do. I asked Tyler Hero specifically at the media day, and he's like, yeah, Kel'el, he falls in love with the three, but he can be a vertical spacer for us a little bit more than he thinks, and so forth and so forth. Like, this was Hero speaking, right? And to understand that Kel'el has maybe taken some of that, not necessarily criticism, but that just kind of like that feedback rather, and saying, hey, let me just plug in. So I think he has the tool set, and again, was not traded for the aforementioned Kevin Durant. Like, mine was like, no, we're going to hold on to this young dude. While KD's awesome and all, first ballot Hall of Famer and all that, we're not ready for Kevin Durant here. He's not going to accelerate us in the way that Kel'el will, obviously, for now and the years to come too. So I like this pick a lot too.
Nice. All right. So now it is time for us to do the Robin Award. I hand this over to my man Shaw. You know what I'm saying? Even though technically I'm Robin.
Get out of here.
Right.
Anyway.
But it's okay.
So I'm the penguin out here.
You get to be the villain. Actually, you didn't even go to Alfred. You went to a whole nother villain.
Hey man, what I look like being Alfred? Hold up, man. Why you gonna put that on me? I was gonna be Alfred. Damn.
I didn't say
I wouldn't have went Pennyworth.
All right, Joker. I'm the Joker. Shit. Golly. He said, hey, serve me, boy. Okay.
Well, we are all playing.
Funny how you said Joker too, because that's purple. He just loves him some purple.
Hey, so. I do.
Well, we're all playing roles we are unfamiliar with. And I think as we spoke about this in the beginning, the LA Lakers have become Luka Doncic's team. And for the first time in history, LeBron James is going to be playing a Robin. And I'm going to give him a premeditated the Robin Award for the best second option or second best player on any team. LeBron obviously has more than a Hall of Fame career. Obviously the best, if not the best player of all time. And now, despite sciatica concerns in the whole nine, is still a mother effer when it comes to his competition and wanting to win. What that looks like for the Lakers this year, still don't know. But I think right now, with him now going into obviously in the twilight of his career, he's going to be the second best player on his team, but the second best player in the NBA altogether, so to speak, when it comes to second options. And I'm really excited to see how he embraces this and what the statistical production ultimately looks like, because his number 2 option numbers are still going to be better than a lot of people's number 1s. And that's just how good LeBron James is. I thought about Karl-Anthony Towns in this, but at the end of the day, LeBron makes the most amount of sense, especially with the way the Lakers are trending now. I got to kick it to my Lakers guys first and foremost to see what you think about LeBron as a Robin for this year, for the first time ever in his life.
That's the craziest thing about it. It's like, I just never thought that we would get here. And that sounds crazy because like to the point that Cal made earlier, like, have we ever seen him, I don't even want to say in a subservient role, but in a secondary role. No. So when I watched Kareem in the 80s when I was a kid, I watched Kareem, be the man and accept the ascension of Magic Johnson. And, it was very clear by the end of that run, who the guy that was on that team. We watched Shaq go from being the clear-cut man to when all of a sudden when he's in Miami, while yes, he still contributed and still did great. That was Dwayne Wade's, team, when they won that title. I've never seen, I've never even thought about or even considered LeBron in this deal, but this is kind of where he's at. And I'll be honest with you, I still have questions on whether if he's going to truly embrace that role. I do. Look, I'm not saying he's going to sabotage anything. He's going to go out there and he's going to give you everything. I believe that 100%. But I also think that at the end of the day, if it's not going perfectly, if it isn't going to, if it's not to his liking, I could absolutely still see him saying like, New York looks good. What happens about this before? That's what I'm saying, because I think I think some people are just pre-wired. Like, I am the man. I am. And for whatever reason, I think that LeBron, I think that's part of that has been part of the motivation and driving force. And I completely understand that. So I'm not disagreeing with the award. I think, the award, it makes the most sense because he is still the best second option that you're going to get. Like, he is. I just don't know if he's going to accept it. So I think he
still sees himself as Batman and maybe Luka as Superman, but we both number 1s around here. Ain't nobody's riding shotgun. I feel that.
Even if he says the right thing, I do believe that's what's in his heart.
Listen, I know you probably have had the toughest assignment because even your honorable mentions, right, are worthy as such and probably more automatic than LeBron James himself, because again, he's in an unfamiliar space. I mean, listen, you could throw a couple of other people out there as well too, predicated on whether or not these teams are going to be successful because of it. Jamal Murray, you could make the argument for
well, I had Cat and Jalen Williams out, until Jalen Williams from OKC.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's plenty of guys who are great in their roles, and they're like, there's no question about who the number 1 is. Like, Jalen Brunson is that there, and obviously Shea's that in OKC, and Jokic even in Denver. But I think, again, who really is truly the best player manning that position for their proverbial team. But again, to Jabari's point, we'll see if he actually accepts that and how that plays itself out on the basketball floor.
Yeah, absolutely. You're tuned to The Baseline. Callie Warren Shaw, special guest Jabari Davis here. And to finally round out our Baseline Awards, I have been gifted the responsibility of doling out the MVP BT. The most valuable player on a bad team award. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Of course. You know what I'm saying? Let the shots rain on. You know what I'm saying? I gotta go get my Kevlar. So somebody
there is a lot of pressure with this, because now you're saying that, this player might be empty calories, and you're saying that his team is bad.
Well, I'm going to parse this out. I am going to parse this out by saying I don't believe his numbers are going to be empty calories, but I believe that because the team is not going to be good, that it's just going to make us feel even worse, because there have been opportunities where you would think that type of player should be playing in more relevant basketball and it is not translated as such, whether it's because of the organization, because of the moves that were made, or the circumstances, be it as it may. So my MVP BT is going to be the Devin Booker. Listen, in a way, I'm saying this because I actually like Devin Booker. I like Devin Booker's game. And if it means that we got to go back to the old Devin Booker to go out there and just basically just start waxing dudes until the Phoenix Suns can get it right to put him next to guys that he can go out and really be successful with, then so be it. Because that version of Devin Booker on a night in, night out basis, you would hate seeing him. I know the Celtics did a couple times during their runs. And I like to see that version of him if he can't just be on a team where he can basically collectively share the load with other guys of his equal, so to speak. I think that this team is going to struggle, but I do think we're going to see old Devin Booker where he's going to be putting up some pretty, gaudy numbers for his style of basketball and his style of play. I think it's a reset button. And that's the reason why I kind of hedged my bet, not hedged my bet, but I put the caveat out there that I don't see his numbers being, empty calorie numbers, because without those numbers that he's going to be putting up, the Phoenix Suns are going to even look worse. You know what I'm saying? So, but I just feel like this team is going to struggle, but I think we may see the old bad guy back. And I think I want to see that person out there on a night in, night out basis, giving it to those other teams in the Western Conference and in kind.
I'm only going to say this, and Jabari obviously just jump right in right there. How bad do you think the Suns are going to be? Like, we picked them in our lottery in terms of the tiers, but I was indicating, like, I think they're going to be competitively bad, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Like, lose games in the fourth quarter, et cetera, not get run out by 30 every single night. I think there's still enough meat on the bones here. But when you made this selection, how bad did you think the Suns will be? And then Jabari, jump in if you would.
I just think because we were talking about in the way of the tiers of how close the gap is, they're going to suffer losses that are going to make it look like they're just a bad basketball team. But a lot of it is because they're going to be lacking things that they tried so hard to put together over the last couple of seasons that didn't pan out. And as a result of it, they're going to wind up probably being in the lottery because of it. But I don't think it's going to be because they're like the absolute worst team. Like we're questioning the Utah Jazz, or maybe even to some degree questioning the Brooklyn Nets. I just think that he's going to have to be a one-man band for that team to be as relevant and as significant as necessary. And there's not going to be any way around it. So.
Yeah, I love this pick. And you know what? Shout out to our guy Tyler of the Gimmick Infringement podcast, because when we did the other video, he mentioned he thinks he's going to lead the league in scoring. And this is one where I actually could see that being the case. He's never, the most he's ever averaged was 27.8. I could see him putting up 30 this year. I could definitely see him putting up 30 a night this year. And to each of your points, while I don't think Phoenix is going to be great in terms of the standings, I do think they're going to be competitive. I think they're going to be competitive enough to where, like, I know that this is a hypothetical award, but like where someone would, garner, this type of love in an award like this. I could see them winning anywhere from 39 to 40, 40-ish, 40 or 42 games. And if that's the case, like, that's going to require Devin Booker being that type of scorer and that type of leader on a night, night in, on a night out basis. So I love the pick. I think Devin Booker, it sucks that he's been in a situation where, they had the limited run of success where they made it to the finals, and, you thought, hey, at the very least they can be competitive over these next, few years. It stinks that they haven't been able to put it together fully, but you know what? At the very least, that Devin Booker's going to get, just going to come out and bring it. So I think, I think it's a good choice.
One quick point to add to that point that you just made, Jabari. The best version of Devin Booker that I saw was when he played next to Chris Paul. But that was basically the last year of what you had left in the tank of what Chris Paul could give you. And I think year over year, with the way that they have flipped the roster, it has caused Devin Booker to defer more in getting the rest of his teammates involved who have fallen short to execute when it matters the most. And I think the best version of Devin Booker is when he is the ultra aggressive, where he is the alpha scorer. when he's the alpha scorer, the Suns give themselves the best opportunity, the best chances. And that's the reason why, to your point, Jabari, him scoring north of 30 points is it like I would expect that. Like that's what's gonna have to happen. But I'd rather see that version of him out there on the basketball court on a nightly basis than the version of him where he is trying to be more of the point guard and trying to look out for the rest of his guys. There's not enough talent scoring wise on his roster that he's going to have to worry about that. He's got to chuck that ball and for them to have a night in, night out basis to win games.
I think statistically, his numbers are going to rival Ants. I really do. Like, you know, scoring 20, 30 a night, 7 assists, 5 rebounds. Like I think it's going to be in that lane, but just very different results based on the team and then and the Western Conference. But yeah, he's an easy 25. Like he gets out the bed and that's 25 easy. So yeah, I can very much see this. I think this is a great pick. Most valuable player on a bad team, unfortunately. Yeah, I think Devin Booker could be that too. And there's going to be a couple other guys here, you know, and you know we'll see where that lands, and we'll have to see how close our predictions came to fruition once we get into April and May at the close of the season.
Hopefully, Luka's not one of them. I'm just keeping it real, man. I'm just keeping it real. Yeah,
always do.
I'm gonna tell you this much though: if Luka, I'm sorry, LeBron gets the Robin Award, Luka gets the MVP. I don't know what to make of what this Lakers team is. It's like I'm just gonna be like, you know what? I'm done. I will no longer.
Means everything went right. That means everything went right.
That means they made the.
That also full-time host of the Baseline, brother.
That also means they made the deal that they should have made in the offseason when they hadn't got Wiggins and continue to solidify that roster around them. And let's go ahead and make a. If you're gonna have them, let's go ahead and make a run. Anyway, I can't start that.
Awesome show. What more can be said? As always, man, this is what we get when the brothers are in the building. So Jabari, do not be a stranger, my man.
I will not.
Do not be a stranger. This is the energy that our peoples always love and need when we're in the mix. When we're stirring the pot the way that we do, brother.
Like I said, I appreciate you, brothers, man. I appreciate the invitation. I will not be a stranger. I think we had agreed, once a month type deal. So
yeah, man.
As long as we can do that over the course of the season, it's going to be a great season for me.
Right, man. Listen, I can't always be talking about Luka magic. I need Bari magic.
I got you.
Once again, man, we'd like to thank everybody for hopping on board. This has been a great, fun episode. Again, special love to our man Jabari. Thank you again. My man Shaw, as always, bringing the goods. You know what I mean? For the Baseline, Cali, Warren Shaw, we appreciate each and every single one of y'all. And we'll catch up with you next time.